Hello, welcome to our new topic of this week. Topic actually be a subject of the formula in the presenter one, Aramunyondo. So pali zinthu zingapo zimene tikuyenera tidziwe tisanayambe kusolve subject formula zambiri zotaphunzira kuma junior level classes. Mwachisanzo by now tonse tizitha kudziwa kuti what is an equation, komanso kudziwa kuti what does this word mean, body mass. So an equation basically tutanthauza kuti it is something that looks like this. So inekhale ndi equals sign, inekhale ndi left hand side, komanso inekhale ndi right hand side. And this equals sign imatanthauza kuti left hand side and right hand side are equal, meaning they are balanced. So that's what basically an equation is. So takati kusolve my equations osiyana in and study the formula mwe from junior level. Mwachisanzo tapanga za linear equations, komanso quadratic equations. So experience ya my equations siyachilendo, and we're going to apply some of the ways on how we are solving linear equations, komanso how we are handling quadratic equations. Again, we need by now to understand what this body mass means. We know that B stands for brackets, O stands for oval, we have got D standing for division, then we have got M standing for multiplication, then we have got the A standing for addition, kenako tili ndi S amene amayimira subtraction. So by now we should also be able to understand how we can use body mass when you are handling my equations or my expressions on how to simplify them. So tawapanga simplify always consider how the terms are arranged, or how is the expression arranged, or how is the question arranged, so that we apply body mass, meaning timayamba ndi brackets, then we have got division, multiplication, kenako or brackets, meaning kuti timayamba ndi brackets, and there is ofu tipanga ovuyo, then we have got the division, kenako multiplication, kenako addition, kenako subtraction. So at least the background knowledge ya tintunga timeneti, we're going to be applying them as we continue handling subject formula in our senior level. Tipitirire. Now, so the subject formula chidule imakhala kuti ndi equation, and mentaonera mje kuti background ya my equations tinayo yambiri from linear equations, quadratic equations, komanso tapanga kale so at least ma simpler subject formula questions. The what is the number one rule when you are solving equations? So when you're solving equations or you're handling equations, the number one rule is whatever you do on the right hand side, do the same on the left hand side, and the vice versa. Tandoza kuti zimene wapanga ku left hand side zomwezo ukapanga ku right hand side, right? Why are we doing this? Why umayenera kupanga apply the number one rule? Why? Because not to change the equation or to balance the equation. So what we are doing is sufuna usinthe equation ichi. Kutanthauza kuchandikana kuti sufuna usinthe equation ichi. Let's see. So let's say for example tindi equation ya y is equal to x. Tikatenga equation iyi and kuilemba kuti y is equal to x. If I add 1 both sides like that, whatever we do right hand side, we should do the same thing to left hand side. Whatever we do right hand side, we should do the same thing to left hand side. So have we changed the equation? Equation not to have a synth. Alright. So basically I was in the synth equation. 4 times 1, so 1, it is still the same equation. Or let's say multiply by 2 both sides. If you multiply by 2 both sides, it means the equation is still the same thing. It's still balanced. It's still an equation. Alright. It doesn't look like equation yatui komano. The thing is equation yatui is balanced or it is still equal. Koma titakhala mwina machisanzo tapanga plus 1 uku this one and this one are different. Yes, komano even this one is not balanced. Chifukwa tikufuna tipange maintain the equality between our left hand side and our right hand side. Tufuna ukundu kukhale balanced. Maifoto ukutapanga add 1 ukusapanga add 1 uku. It means this equation is not balanced. They are not equal. Tikapanga compare with kumene ta chokera. So sinikanene kuti equation iyi ndi ikuyenderera limodzi. No. Apa yasiyana apapo. Koma nakhauri kusonapanga add 1, we're still dealing with the same equation. Or we take it favor and we say, let's say we divide 2 both sides. If we divide 2 both sides, the same thing, we're still maintaining the same equation. So when you are handling equation, tunaona kuti zimene wapanga ku left hand side ukapangeso zomwezo ku right hand side. Ukangopanga usapanga zomwezo, it means sukupanga maintain the equality of the equation, sukupanga balance the equation. It means the equation ndiwe waisintha. Kuchokera ku equation imene akupatsa ija kungopanga zosiyana uku nduku, ndekuti iweyo sukupanga maintain the equality of the equation in reference to kufanizira ndi equation imene unapatsidwa kumayambiriro. So whatever you do on the left hand side, you should do the same thing on the right hand side. Let's move on. Now we're still continuing with my equations, the rules of the equations when we are doing my subject the formula. Okay. Magisanzo, how do we get rid of terms that are added? So remember, this is just our background to umputsana as many timapanga kale. So let's say tapasiba equation the y plus 7 is equal to 4x, and we need to make y subject to funa y akale subject. Some ngati equation ngati timaita kuti tipange y subject. So tikakumbukira bwino bwino, we're saying we need to get rid of terms that are adding. Ababa tufuna y. So the thing is, tikana kuti tupanga subject formula, timafuna zonse zimene sizili y zichokeko ku side imeneyo. Remember, we have got left hand side and right hand side. So if you tukufuna kuti in our case here tukufuna ku left hand side kukhale y eka. It means y yo ndamene ali subject watu ndamene akufunidwa kuti akhale eka. So muona kuti ku on our left hand side, okay, and this is our right hand side. Muona kuti ku left hand side kuli y plus 7 and ku right hand side kuli 4x. Ifeo tufuna tichotsepo mkulu ushu achokeko. And this is adding. So this is a positive 7. It's adding. Okay, it's adding to y. So because it's adding to y, how do we get rid of this? So ngatukumbukira muno bwino, because this term is adding to y, in order for us to tichotse pamene, we do the opposite. If this is adding to y, in order to remove this, we do the opposite of adding. So what is the opposite of adding? The opposite of adding so the opposite of adding is subtraction. So if we're going to subtract 7 both sides. Remember, why both sides? We want to maintain the equality of the equation. So we're going to subtract 7 both sides. Remember the number 1 rule. Whatever we do on the left hand side, we should do the same thing on the right hand side. Whatever we do on the right hand side, we should do the same thing on the right hand side. Why are we doing that? In order for us to maintain the equality of the equation. So we're saying we're going to just to say y plus 7 minus 7 is equal to 4x minus 7. We are subtracting 7 both sides, and this one gives us 0, and we are going to maintain, we're going to be left with y of 4x minus 7. That means we have made our y subject. So because we are adding this, because of 7 is being added to y, or is adding to y, in order to remove the 7, we have to subtract it both sides. If we look for now y, we haven't touched 4x. Why have we not touched 4x? 4x alikale kwa eka. Sana patikisike munjira ina ili yose ndi y. Let's move on. Now, getting rid of terms that are subtracted. So in our case, let's say we have got the equation that y minus 7 is equal to 4x. Y minus 7 is equal to 4x. And we still want to make it y subject. So to funa y akale subject of the formula yatu apati matani. So remember, before if to funa y, we need to get rid of negative 7. So how do we get rid of negative 7? Remember, negative 7 is being subtracted from y. So this term is subtracting. It means if this term is subtracting, we do the opposite. In order to remove negative 7, we need to do the opposite of subtracting, which is adding. So y negative 7 plus 7. Tabanga maintain equation yathu apa koma taonjezera 7 uku. In order to make sure the equation yathu sina sinte, we do the same thing there. We add 7 uku, also we add 7. So what are we doing? We are saying we are adding 7 both sides. So we are adding 7 both sides. Negative 7, positive 7, 0, 0 plus y, it's y, so y is equal to 4x plus 7. So this equation is still the same as this equation. We haven't changed anything. We have just moved the terms from one side to the other side. Tebafuna y akhale kwaeka. Let's move on. Now, suppose we've been given equation ingati timatani. Now we have got 6y is equal to 12. Ufuna be y watu y akhale subject. What do we do? How do we get rid of a multiplying term? How do we get rid of a letter which is multiplying? So in our case here, we want to get rid of 6. So we know that the 6 and the y are multiplying. That it masule tutaona kuti 6 times y is equal to 12. 6 times y is equal to 12. 6 and y are multiplying. So these two are multiplying. How do we make sure kuti tasala ndi y? Tina lichotsepo 6. 6 tinchotsapo bwanji kuti uku ku left hand side kwathu ku khale y eka. We do the opposite of multiplying because 6 is multiplying with our wanted subject. The wanted subject is y. Because 6 is multiplying with our wanted subject, how do we get rid? We do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. We divide both sides, maintaining the number 1 rule. Zimene ndapanga kusaidi uso ndipanga chimodzimodzi. So we say divide by 6, divide by 6. So we are dividing by 6 both sides. So this 6 and this 6 cancel each other, and of course 6 here goes into 1, 6 here goes 2, and y is equal to 2. And you can check if you put 2 where there is y, we're going to get 12. So we are getting rid of 6, which is multiplying to y, by doing the opposite. What is the 6 doing with y? They're multiplying. We do the opposite of what is the 6 doing with y? We do the opposite. We divide 6 both sides. Always remember both sides. The number 1 rule. Zvinopanga kapange zomwezo. Zvinopanga side yawo kapange zomwezo. And therefore we are going to maintain the quality of the equation in Unapati. Let's move on. So apa we have got another equation imene ikuonetsa kuti we have got y divided by 6 is equal to 12. Still tipange y wathu akhale subject. Now the question is, tikudziwa chimene tikufuna chikhale subject. Yes, tikufuna y, and y waphatikizika ndi chani? In our case here, y waphatikizika ndi 6 akulowa mu y. So how do we get rid of 6 since 6 is akulowa mu y, akugawa y? We do the opposite of division. The 46 na amene akugawa mu y, we do the opposite. In order to remove the 6, we do the opposite. What is the opposite of dividing? The opposite of dividing is multiplying. That we multiply. So we multiply 6. We multiply 6 both sides. Multiply 6 again both sides. Osaiwala, what we are doing, the number one rule is always multiply, always do zofanana on the left hand side or the right hand side. So 6 into 6 cancels each other, and we have got here on the y, and 12 multiplied by 6, 6 multiplied by 2 is 12, 1, 6 multiplied by 1, 6 plus 1, we have got 7. So y is 72. So we can check. If you take y and put it there, 72, 6 into 7, 1, remainder is 1, and it becomes 12, 6 into 12, 2. So there is our 12. So easy timangokumbusana zinthu zimene tipitirizebe kugwiritsa ntchito pamene tikupanga apply to more complex subject formula. So that tingono ngati tititi ntimene so mufuna kuti by now ukudziwa kuti whatever how do we get rid of ma terms ena amene apanga add subtract, koma kapena kuti ngati term yaphatikizidwa ndi yaphatikizika kuti upanga multiply, how do we get rid of number or letter imene ikupanga multiply di subject formula to, kapena ngati kugawa, how do we get rid of number kapena letter imene ikugawa. So tinthu ngati timeneti ndimene so tipitirize kumagwiritsa ntchito to more complex subject formula. Let's move on. So if you tiyangana ma questions subject formula by looking at how many times the subject is appearing mu equation yathu. Mwachisanzo apa tikuyamba kuyangana when a subject is appearing once. So how do you handle a question where the subject is appearing once? Mwachisanzo iyi, make S subject in D is equal to 2S over G. So we want to make S our subject. How do we do that? Tipanga bwanji. Chidule, we just get rid of all non-subject terms. So zonse zimene zamuzungulira SEO tenatizi chose. Posatira njira zimene takambirana mbuyo muja kuti if the term is adding, we subtract both sides. If it's subtracting, we add both sides. Dividing, we multiply both sides. Dividing, we multiply both sides. Multiplying, we divide both sides. So in our case here, fuso ngati tingalisolve motani. So tikaona hapa tili ndi G, tili ndi 2S, tuona kuti 2 ndi S akutani hapa. muona kuti 2 ndi s it's multiplying. So zikutuza kuti chani, it means if you want to get rid of 2, because 2 and s are multiplying, if you want to get rid of 2 you have to do the opposite of what is 2 doing with s. So 2 ndi s apanga multiply, kuti tichotsepo titani, it means tigawe, and tigawa bwanji, tigawa both sides. Uko tikagawa ndi 2, so tigawa ndi 2 tobwera pa g. What is g doing ndi s uko ndi 2s, tikaona kuti g akugawa mu 2s. So because g is dividing, what do? We do the opposite. What is the opposite? We multiply g both sides. So tili t is equal to 2s over g. Alright, tiamba kuchotsa chani. Let's start removing the g. It's always best to remove the fraction first. Yeah, so getting rid of the fractions or getting rid of any brackets, it's very important, because umazisiya zose mu line imodzi, and it's simple to deal with them when they're appearing in line imodzi. So in our case here, let's get rid of g. So we multiply both sides by g, and this g cancels each other, and we have got gt is equal to 2s. Next step, we need to get rid of 2. 2 is multiplying with s. So ngati 2 apanga multiplying the s, tinchotsapo bwanji, we do the opposite of multiplying. We divide 2 both sides, and we have got there only s, there g t over 2. S wakhala kwaika, zose zapita to other side, therefore takwaniritsa. But we can also rewrite this as s is equal to gt 2. So it's always best to present an equation in this way, because the subject formula ibwere ku left hand side, and everything as when was sunta zipite ku right hand side. So we are done. So for now, let's stop there. Let's revise some of the questions that we handled in our junior level by applying some of the things that we have learned here. And next week we're still going to continue with subject formula by looking at the mafuso amene amakhalako more complicated than we are used to. See you next week.